try living off the straight and narrow.
You may have seen my video earlier about the world's largest bike rally, Sturgis, ending up in a Bud Light style backfire for Harley Davidson, as the entire Harley Davidson tent was essentially a ghost town in which years past it was jam-packed to the brim. Many people wondering why this might be. Well, of course, it's because of the work of internet sleuths like Robbie Starbuck and other people, viewers like you, sharing the message that it turns out the CEO of Harley Davidson is not just a little woke, he is the full fruitcake, full-on woke insanity. There's been a massive pushback from Harley riders, from things like debadging their bikes to outright destroying them. But now many people have wondered exactly why the man hasn't been fired. Well, calling in, again, one of the best followers on Twitter, Robbie Starbuck, who started to do a little bit of research on the board of directors for Harley. Essentially, the CEO reports to the board of directors, and this may be why he hasn't been fired. It certainly would explain why he was hired in the first place. Quote, "I promised we'd look into Harley Davidson board of directors, and we did. Meet Alan Golson. He's on the Harley board. He's also the president of the United States program for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and a listed contributor for the World Economic Forum." Why is it every time? Leave a like on the video right now if it's every single time. The World Economic Forum exists of a few hundred people that seem to have literally every single high-ranking position at every single American company. Do you ever wonder why you can't pronounce any of the CEOs' names at most of the companies in the United States? It's because they've been placed there. Many of them didn't earn the position through their work. They earned their position through following orders, by executing the message, by having things like diversity, equity, and inclusion, by having things like Bridge, playing the cup game with wokeness, hiring diversity officers. This is what is a requirement at these global companies that are traded publicly on the stock market. And companies that do not follow suit, that do not take their CEOs who seemingly are placed there by the World Economic Forum, they don't do so well in the stock market, do they? Now, again, he is also this board member. Again, the board member is in charge of who hires a CEO and who fires a CEO. You know, hiring and firing of the CEO is all up to the board, okay? He's also a huge fan of equity, which is a word that the left wants you to think is the same as equality, but it isn't. He's a firm of equity, DE&I, as well as the term Latinx. Well, without seeing him, I can guarantee you he's not Latino. Unsurprisingly, he's also a Democrat donor, and he's listed as a repeated donor to the Pride Foundation. The Pride Foundation supports transing kids and men in women's spaces. Does that scream Harley to you? A woke board seems to be why Harley hasn't immediately turned around on their woke policies to remove divisive social issues from the workplace in favor of merit and a neutral workplace free from politics, pride stuff, discrimination, and division. All people want is a workplace to be a workplace again without divisive issues injected into them, and customers don't want to pay for the political or social views of woke executives. I mean, it's pretty easy, right? Meanwhile, it continues. Harley Davidson, I haven't checked. I want to check right now, actually. For the past week, Harley Davidson has not posted on social media. They've just completely shut down their social media, and they still haven't. So since July 30th, they have not posted on social media, and they've locked down all their posts. Does that sound like dealing with the problem? Does that sound like the Harley way? Taking accountability? You see, I'll put this in the mail tomorrow. By the way, Mail and phone calls work so much better. Dear Harley Davidson, despite your misguided foray into wokeness, I've found a way to retain some of my self-respect while still remaining a Harley Davidson owner. I have a 2017 Road Glide Special. It occurred to me that Jochen Zeitz did not take over as CEO until 2020. Therefore, I can say with mild satisfaction that I have a pre-Zeitz Harley Davidson. I don't know how long that will keep me satisfied. We'll see. If you don't come to your senses and unbud light yourselves, I can always bite the bullet and sell my Road Glide for an Indian. I mean, I don't know. The problem with this is the real people that will suffer is the Harley Davidson parts department, your local salesmen, the mechanics, all the people downstream of this woke nonsense, right? And it's not their fault. However, as you may remember, for the year 2024, I am Team Low Road. Leave a like on the video right now if you're also Team Low Road and you're sick of this crap. Yes, it sucks. It sucks for the mechanics that will be laid off. It sucks for the salespeople or the parts department or the local suppliers that aren't China anymore. A lot of what, I live in Wisconsin. Harley used to buy all local stuff. Most of those contracts are long gone. I live 10 minutes away from the Harley factory. Okay, so I see it. It sucks that people who have nothing to do with the political decisions of their bosses are going to pay the price for this, but unfortunately, sadly, we cannot care because the left doesn't care. The woke policymakers don't care. They don't care that your kids are getting fed weirdo propaganda at schools. They don't care about hosting, library drag night. They don't care about spending money to trans kids. They don't care about you at all. So the only thing you can do as a consumer is hope that the employees inside the building apply similar pressure on the brand. You can't worry about them losing their jobs because they don't care. Meaning the executives. The executives don't care about their employees losing their jobs. Otherwise, they wouldn't be pushing politics.
All right, y'all, I promised you we'd go through the board members of Harley Davidson. Here's the first one. Meet Alan Golston. He's the president of the United States program for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. How did he end up on the Harley Davidson board? The World Economic Forum even touts him as a contributor on their website. Does this scream Harley Davidson to you yet? And he is a big believer in DEI. In fact, here he is on LinkedIn championing the new DEI officer at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. He also absolutely loves using the term Latinx.
A white adult is twice as likely to have at least an associate's degree as a Latinx adult.
Maybe this is just my hot take as a fellow Latino, but anybody who's dumb enough to refer to themselves as Latinx probably should not be allowed to have a college degree unless they majored in stupidity. Now let's jump to equity. Alan loves the concept of communist equity because that's what equity really is. It's a Marxist term that means that you need to take from others, push other people down who are excellent, and lift people up from the bottom so that they're at the same exact place. Equal outcomes for all.
Well, equality of outcome, not equality of opportunity.
He loves equity.
Our primary aim is to ensure equitable outcomes in the systems.
Exactly. Equitable outcomes. What does that mean? Well, that means not firing crappy employees. That means looking the other way when other employees who have the correct skin color or correct personal identifiers or people that they sleep with. It means looking the other way. It means promoting them when they don't deserve it. It means parading them around to your customers like a pet, like a toy, like a trophy.
That we're focused on.
I mean, he's really giving you those vroom vroom vibes, isn't he? And this is unlikely to shock anybody at this point, but Alan here exclusively donates to Democrats. And that Mike Johnson you see there is not the Republican Mike Johnson. These are all Democrats, every single one. Him and a guy named Steven are listed as repeated donors to the Pride Foundation. So if you're a biker out there, you're still wondering, how did Harley Davidson go woke? Why haven't they fired their CEO? Why did they donate money to these Pride events that were crazy? Why did they do these crazy trainings with a book called White Fragility that essentially is a book based off of the premise that we're just a racist country and it's all rooted in white supremacy and basically everything sucks? Well, If you have board members like this who are super into DEI, they love equity, which is a Marxist term again, and they also are donors themselves to these pride companies or pride foundations that themselves support the transitioning of children, well, what do you think is going to happen to the companies that they're on the board of?
Right. So they get on the board, they hire a CEO who is like-minded. Nobody actually cares about the brand. They spend their time going to Europe or going to ski resorts or going to this mixer or that mixer and talking to other like-minded people about stupid, unrelated crap to motorcycles. None of these people could probably tell you how to rebuild a carburetor, but they certainly can tell you what percentage of their staff is gay. All right? So these people don't care about the product, which of course you see quality slip, and ultimately, eventually, things boil over. And that's exactly what's happening. And again, we saw it happen with Bud Light, and the boycott was successful. We saw it happen with Tractor Supply, and the boycott was successful. You saw it happen with John Deere, and the boycott was somewhat successful. You're seeing it happen with Harley Davidson, and people are having their voices heard. Now, will they fire their CEO? I don't know. I don't think they're probably firing him until they see a drop in sales. But I can tell you this, the way Bidenomics is going and the Kamala crash is hitting people, I'm not sure that there's going to be thousands of hogheads willing to drop 40, 50 grand on new Harleys, especially when the company themselves is supporting the very policies that are making it almost impossible for the middle class to survive. Bombshell clips of Harley Davidson's boss calling himself the Taliban of sustainability return to haunt him.
I joined Harley Davidson on the board. And many of you may say, what's sustainable about Harley? Well, there really wasn't anything sustainable about Harley at the
Culture?
time. In fact, I was greeted with a lot of skepticism in Milwaukee when I knocked on their door as the first ever non-American board member.
Why were you even there? That's the question people have to say. Why were you there? Why were you hired? Why were you installed? The only thing that can happen is at Sturgis, people can continue to let their voices be heard, be polite, because remember, the people you talk to at Sturgis probably don't have anything to do with it. Keep posting your pictures of empty Harley events and bikes for sale and all this kind of stuff, and keep the pressure up, because change is possible. It's a new day, and the customers are starting to take their power back. So keep sharing these videos, keep sharing your opinions, keep letting your voice be heard, and you can force wokeness out. You have more power than you think. If you're enjoying this video, please make sure you leave a like on it. If you haven't yet, wherever you're watching, please do subscribe or follow down below.